Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
A magic beyond anything you could ever imagine.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Sagrera Farms on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day.
You really think that's the best idea?
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, this is Hunt Palmer.
It's quite a piece of work.
Hour 2, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, working towards the weekend. Fired up to be here. Fast-moving hour number 1. Lots to do in hour number 2. Chris Blair will be along in 15 minutes previewing LSU and Arkansas from the box. Stop me if you've heard this before, but the forecast is not super awesome this weekend. I just want a good weekend. I just want a lot of sunshine, temps around 90. Maybe I can draw a little bit of solace in that I looked at the forecast earlier and it looks like the wind is blowing out of the north a little bit this weekend, which might slow down Arkansas's home run bats. I'm trying to be optimistic about this in the case that the weather's not great, but really the most important thing is getting an Alex Box Stadium that's full and rocking and rolling, and hopefully that is the case over the next 3 days. Chris Burr will be on the call for all of it, and he'll join us here coming up in 15 minutes. I wrote about this briefly at LouisianaSports.net. And trust me, this is not a Cubs segment. I'm just going to mention the Cubs briefly. The Cubs may have made a mistake. And that mistake actually has something to do locally at third base for my favorite baseball team. The Cubs have a bit of an issue, and it may have been solved if they could have signed Alex Bregman. Now, I was publicly against the signing of Alex Bregman because he's in his 30s. And he was going to be expensive, and the Cubs had a top prospect that was at that spot. Well, he's since been sent down to the minors, and Alex Bregman is sizzling for the Red Sox.
Tried to tell you, Hunt.
You did. I still don't know that I'm wrong, but it looks bad for me right now in May. Let's just say that. It was going to be a 4 or 5 year deal, so the life of that, there's a little bit more sample size to get to here. But Alex Bregman is crushing the ball in Boston. I mean, he played 9 seasons in Houston and legend is too strong a word for sure in Houston, but his legacy in Houston is cemented. I mean, you're talking about 9 seasons. He made 2 All-Star teams. He won a Silver Slugger at third base. He won a Gold Glove at third base. He was part of 2 World Series championship teams, and it was going to be his time. Houston was kind of, deciding they were going to do a little bit of a reset, which is why the Cubs were able to get Kyle Tucker as an aside. But Bregman was going to look elsewhere, and Boston came a-calling. And my goodness, has he made good on that. He had 3 hits last night, including a home run. And so that lengthened his on-base streak to 19 games, which I know we just watched Derek Carroll go 43 games. You're going on 19 games. It's the big leagues. It's really hard to get on base 19 games in a row. Over that 19-game span, Alex Bregman is hitting .378 with 7 homers, 18 runs driven in, and 20 runs scored in 19 games. He leads the Red Sox right now in batting average, home runs, RBI, on-base percentage, and OPS. And he leads the whole American League in doubles. He is crushing the baseball. And I'm not stunned by this at all, but I just thought that it was likely his best baseball was behind him in Houston. And what you're seeing now is a guy who just clubbed his 200th big league home run and looks like he's got kind of a renaissance of sorts in a new place. And it's just cool. I know Musso on Matt's show every single day does Tigers in the Pros and kind of keeps everybody up to date on what's going on. Unfortunately, Skeens got beat by the Cardinals the other day, actually in the start after the Cubs knocked him around a little bit, so he's kind of finding his way. I know it was a really tough start to the season for Dylan Cruz, who was statistically the worst hitter in Major League Baseball for almost a month, but he's kind of come out of it a little bit, as you knew that he would. And that reminded me of Alex Bregman early in his career, right when he got called up. He couldn't get a hit. He could not get a hit. And eventually you settle in and water finds its level and great hitters hit. And Alex Bregman has now done that for going on 10 years. And it's just cool to watch him have that kind of success when we start to look at comparing him to LSU greats in Major League Baseball. I know there's a fractured relationship, probably irreparably. I mean, I've never seen Albert Bell, Joey Bell at the time, involved at LSU at all. I may be missing something, but that would be the guy in the big league level that has had the greatest career. But he didn't finish his college career here and is kind of a footnote at this point and not necessarily a presence. You look at a guy like Todd Walker who had, I just did it back. Did you hear that?
A guy.
I mean,
guy
I
like Todd
immediately
Walker.
it, but it just drives me nuts when it happens.
You can't help it. It's ingrained in your mind.
I don't do it very often. When I do it, I'm going to catch it. But you look at Todd Walker, not a guy like Todd Walker. Just look at the actual Todd Walker, who had a great career as kind of a second baseman who bounced around and was a solid average hitter. You look at some pitchers in the 90s that had good runs, Paul Bird, Chad OJ, Mike Sorotka, those guys. Then you look at the modern time and you look at what Aaron Nola has done, which has been very, very good in Philadelphia. And there have been others, clearly. But Bregman at this point, I think, is positioning himself to have as good a major league career when it comes to numbers, longevity, and accomplishments as anybody maybe outside of Albert Bell. And for him to be still very much linked to LSU, it was easier when he was right down the road in Houston, but now, up in Boston a little bit further away. But he doesn't look like he's slowing down at all, and he's in a really good park to hit in. He's showing right now that he's as good a hitter as there is in the American League. I know there are plenty of guys that most executives would take over him, but just looking at the pure numbers, he's been phenomenal, and it doesn't look like he's trying to slow down. If he's got 4 more really good years in him until he's 34, 35 years old, you're talking about a guy who can stack up with anybody in terms of LSU. And I've got a tweet that I sent out when Dylan Cruz was a freshman that said he was going to hit 300 major league home runs. That's ambitious. It's really hard to hit 300 home runs. Bregman has been a great hitter for almost a decade. He's in his 10th year, and he's got 200 now. So you figure if he can hit 20 home runs for 5 years, he'll get there. But that's hard to do. 300 is a lot. And the question I kind of find myself asking is, who would I bet on as far as a big league career? Dylan Cruz with all that in front of him, or Alex Bregman with all that behind him? Like DJ LeMahieu's had an awesome go of it, batting titles, been phenomenal. But I wonder, what MLB career would I bet on now? Because I've been outspoken. When I watched those guys on the field at the box, I thought Cruz was a far superior college player. He hit for more power. He hit for a far higher average. I thought he ran better. I thought he was a way better player. For me, Dylan Cruz is the best position player I've ever seen at LSU. Bregman was great, and it showed. He was the second pick in the draft, but he's paid it off in the big leagues in a big way. And Cruz is in its infancy, and I'm just curious, who LSU fans, knowing what we know today, whose big league career would you bet on at this point? Understanding they're in different places, and that's the point of the discussion. Would you take Dylan Cruz with the upside and all those years in front of him? Or would you take Bregman with a decade behind him, still playing great in his right after his 30th birthday, and hoping he can build on that? I think it's a fascinating deal. I'm somebody that, generally speaking, bets on what I know as opposed to betting on taking the risk. That's just how my personality is generally wired. So I'd probably take Alex Bregman, let him finish the next 5, 6, 7 years, however many they are, and let that stand up and see what Cruz can go do. But I certainly wouldn't bat an eye if someone told me that I had to take Dylan Cruz and just see what the next 15 years holds. Either way, they're two phenomenal ambassadors for LSU baseball. They were number 2 picks in the draft, and I hope that Cruz and Skeens have similar meteoric rises and kind of become some of the faces of the sport. I know that Skeens is kind of already there. He started the All-Star game. He was the betting favorite to be the NL Cy Young Award winner before they threw a pitch this year. Cruz has a lot of work to do to get there, but those guys are in their infancy. Alex Bregman is beyond the midway point of his career, I would say, certainly. And so it's great to see him continuing to swing the bat as well. It's probably tough because I know there are a lot of you listening right now that are Astros fans that so enjoyed having him on your team once again at the professional level, and that's such a cool thing. And to have him move on, that stings a little bit, I'm sure. But there's also got to be a little bit of you that's got some purple and gold. That's man, I'm glad he's he's still swinging the bat well. And to get on base 19 straight games, to lead the AL in doubles, to lead the Red Sox in average home runs, RBI, on base, and OPS, that's phenomenal stuff from Alex Bregman, who just continues to hit wherever he goes. It's really cool to watch. So shout out to Alex Bregman and to Dylan Cruz and Paul Skeens and DJ LeMahieu and all the Tigers who are still playing in Major League Baseball. All right, Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers. We'll talk some more baseball with him when we come back. It is a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is that website. Man, Jonathan Carbo and his team are phenomenal to work with. I tell this story at least once a week because I think it's the simplest way to describe what the Highland Insurance Group does for their clients. They had a prospective client who was with another brokerage who had 5 locations, business with 5 different locations. And that 5-location business was covered under one general liability policy with a $1 million limit on it. And so what the Highland Insurance Group did was they took that and they said, we got 5 locations. We can put $1 million on each location. And we can keep that premium pretty much flat. It's just a tweak that simple that could make a huge difference. That's $5 million of coverage instead of 1. And the price doesn't change. If you don't have someone putting a second set of eyeballs on your insurance program, are you doing it right? Do you not trust your insurance broker? You should trust your insurance broker like you trust your attorney, like you trust your CPA. You divulge all the information to them, and you trust them to help you when you need it. If you just look at the premium at renewal time and go, all right, that's good, maybe you need another set of eyeballs. The Highland Insurance Group, Jonathan Carver and his team are happy to help you with that. You can find them online at HighlandIG.com. They're right here in Baton Rouge, can help you out statewide, wherever you may be. It's the Highland Insurance Group. Find them online at HighlandIG.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Chugging along here, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Beef. LSU in Arkansas tomorrow, hopefully on time. Saturday, hopefully on time. Sunday, hopefully on time. It's been a bit of an issue for the Tigers this year, and Chris Blair's basically been there for all of it. He joins us on Thursdays on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Does so now. Chris, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm just hoping, this South Louisiana weather where you think something's going to happen and then something totally different happens. I'm hoping that's what's happening tomorrow.
It's been rough. It just hadn't seemingly been like just a clean weekend in quite some time. Hopefully that is the case this weekend. Wasn't the case last weekend. Had to play a doubleheader over the weekend in College Station. It was very hotly contested series, and A&M had the one big swing, but Anthony Ianson was the story for LSU. What did that look like in person?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it was kind of a head scratcher, throughout the weekend offensively for LSU. And again, I have to remind myself, and I think it's needed to remind everybody that, consistency over a long regular season, LSU's had that. I mean, you just look at their numbers statistically and offensively, it's not a team that you're worried about. Having said that, I don't think Texas A&M, again, they played well. Their pitchers, Ryan Prager, I thought, was phenomenal. His numbers backed it up in Game 1 on Saturday. But, these guys, they aren't the best pitchers LSU has faced this year. I think that's fair to say. And there just seemed to be a struggle. Again, the runners with scoring position, getting runners on at times, just getting guys aboard, was a struggle. And, again, over the consistency of the season, I don't think, LSU's offense has trouble. It's just this is another weekend coming up where, much like last weekend, you've got a team where I just don't think 2, 3, and 4 runs a game is going to get it done.
No, I'm right there with you, and that's up to Kate Anderson and Anthony Ianson to keep things close, and they appear to be as good a 1-2 punch as there is in the country. We had Joe Healy from D1 Baseball on in the first hour, and he said, I don't know of any 1-2 I would take in America outside of Anderson and Ianson. How do you feel about that?
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, that's the only reason I think you had shots to win this past weekend. Just the way they pitch. Ianson was incredible. The early part of the season, I think you and I talked about it a couple of times here on the show, is the MO on Anthony was he's a guy that's going to have a little bit of struggle early on, maybe give up a run or two, a couple of hits, and then he kind of settles in. and then gets stronger as the outing goes. Well, I just think that's the way his season has gone. I can remember vividly on Saturday night, 8th inning, 9th inning, there were fastballs still clocking in at 96 miles an hour, and he was at or above the century mark. And so it was an incredible feat, to say the very least. And Cade Anderson has had a couple of games, of tough luck where I think he has pitched well enough, certainly well enough for his team to win. And I think you're exactly right. And I think he was right. That's a very good 1-2 punch in not only SEC play, but as you move forward into the postseason.
A little bit of a hidden storyline from College Station to me was Maverick Rizzi going out there in a game LSU ultimately lost, but really showing something. And you were there in person. Is that something that we can see built on over the next couple of weeks?
Oh, without question. Jay and I talked about it on Sunday, and that was kind of the thing that he took away, not only Anthony's performance in Game 2, but the fact that, hey, I know we didn't win Game 1, but let's give credit to Maverick Rizzi, who I think is continuing to get much better. And, I'll say this, Hunt, I think over the last couple of weekends, again, you haven't won every game, but I'm not so sure that I'm as worried about the LSU bullpen as maybe I was a month ago. I think they've made incremental steps, and there's a number of guys who have done that. And again, it'd be nice to be able to count on 3 or 4 guys out of the pen if you have to go to them early that, this guy can give you 3 innings, this guy can give you 4 innings. Yeah, that's in a perfect world. But I think the way LSU has handled their bullpen, and each of those guys, when they're called upon, as we saw over this past weekend, to come in and get an out in a certain matchup, maybe go an inning and a third, whatever that case may be, I think the bullpen's done a pretty good job. And I hate to keep harping on the offense, but in this league, especially when you're taking on the upper echelon teams, when we got up 2-0, and they cut it to 2-1 very quickly, they answered in the bottom half of that frame. It's like the old saying goes, you kind of felt like you got to score more than 2 to win this game. So let's not lose hope here in the 5th inning. I just think the bullpen in Mavericks, one of those. I think Jacob Myers, who we haven't seen a ton of here lately, is another guy who's made step forwards. I think Cooper Williams. I mean, the list goes on and on. I think the arms are in there. If LSU's offense comes to life, they've got arms that can win them baseball games.
What was the ballpark playing like in College Station? It sounded like from the television broadcast that I caught at times, they were saying the wind was kind of holding some balls up. I know that Chris Stanfield overran a ball in center field in the first game of that series. And that because I wasn't in Norman to see how bad those hitting conditions were. I wasn't in College Station to see that. I know that Austin plays big, because there's such a huge disparity in LSU's offense at the box, which we know is pretty hitter-friendly, and what they've done on the road. Is that just coincidence? Is there a weather component to it? How do you see it?
Well, I mean, I think the winds at Bluebell Park, especially this past weekend, they were swirling. I mean, you'd look out one pitch, and the wind would be blowing out the Kyle Field. Throw the next pitch, you look up, and it was blowing in. And then it would be blowing left, it'd be blowing right. So there were a lot of swirling winds. And there were a lot of fly balls that went up in the air that, frankly, off the bat, looked like, based on the dimensions of that place, were well on their way out of there. And they weren't. So, yeah, I think that had a little impact to do with it. But again, I don't – I agree with you. I read your article earlier in the week, and that is one thing that certainly stands out is the offensive ability on the road versus at home, which, again, as you say, is a friendly hitter's park, just based the way it sits and the way the wind is most of the time. I think at A&M you got a little bit of issue because you got a massive university building in left field that towers over the fence. You got Kyle Field and their new football enhancement center or wellness center, whatever they call it. I mean, I think you're subject to the winds changing a lot because you're kind of shoehorned in there.
Yeah.
But when you look at where LSU goes, I mean, let's face it, Alec Box is one of the more expansive parks in the SEC. There are a lot of smaller ballparks with smaller dimensions, and for some reason, I don't think wind is the only reason LSU is struggling for extra base hits and obviously home runs.
We'll see. They're at home this weekend for sure. I'm curious how you think Jay feels about his team right now. You talk to him on the road. You talk to him on the coaches' shows on Monday nights. no season has kind of been the same. The first year, they were fighting to see if they could get on that host line. The second year was that juggernaut team. Last year, they were fighting to try to get in the field. And this year, you're kind of flirting with that top 8. I'm curious how you think he's feeling at this point.
I think he's got a lot of confidence in this team. And again, that's because we talk a lot in totality, Hunt. I mean, it's very easy, and I'm as guilty as anybody. I'll be the first to admit it, that you take a single game or a single series and you're like, we did not play well in this department or that department. We got an issue there. Where I think Jay and the coaching staff, and I think really this team, I think he constantly, at least he tells us on the show every week, he constantly reminds this team of what they've been able to achieve, what they need to count on, the experiences that they have in these type of games that have won them damn near 40 games. Which I think that's going to happen here this weekend. So I don't think there's well, put it this way, and I've said this for 3 solid years now, you will not find a panic button in the baseball operation building anywhere. So he's got a lot of confidence in this team. Would they love to win every game? Absolutely. Are they going to be able to win every game? No. But there's enough in there. Like you take a guy like Stephen Milam. We all know that Stephen has scuffled a little bit at the plate. He's too dang good at shortstop. So that's why he's going to be in there every game. But we also know what he can do. And this has been kind of a rough patch for him. And I don't mean to single Steven out. I'm a huge fan. But I think the thought process is we know what's there. There's enough of a sample size to know this is kind of one of those valleys. And the truth be told, you can pick Milam, you can pick anybody else you want. And there's been peaks and valleys. But I think in 2025, there are way more peaks than valleys. And that's why I think there's a lot of confidence for this team. And they're looking forward to taking on what I think is maybe the best playing team in the country right now in Arkansas starting tomorrow.
Yeah, no doubt. And we've seen so many LSU teams flip a switch in May and just get white hot. I mean, the 2023 team wasn't playing very well at this point. They had just lost to Auburn and Mississippi State, and then all of a sudden they figured something out in the regional. And as Jay said, the Yankees wouldn't have beat them at that point. Now, this team didn't have the high-end talent that one did, but it's probably a little bit deeper. I'm just curious to see if that light switch comes on against a really good team coming up. Last thing here, your impressions of Kason Evans as a starter back on Sunday. Didn't get really hit, but the command didn't look to be quite as sharp.
Yeah, he wasn't as dialed in as we saw him, obviously, in the first game against Tennessee. But, again, it's one of those deals where I'm not real concerned about that. I mean, I think he's got the stuff. He's a superstar already. He certainly was a superstar in the making when he decided to come get the college experience at LSU, and we're all going to be lucky that we get to watch him for a couple of years. So I think he'll be just fine. I talked to Jay earlier this morning, and we talked about the fact that for his team, the message for the Tigers is we've got to go do what we do. We've got to maximize all of our talent, all of our experience, because Arkansas is a team that really doesn't have a lot of flaws. They lead the SEC in fielding at 983. They're right there at the top in all offensive statistical categories. A lot of people thought early on in the year it was going to be their pitching staff that had to carry them, so we know what they got there. So the message for LSU starting tomorrow is they're not going to give us anything. So we got to go out and do what we do best, and we think we're the better team, and we think we're the better team at the box. So Arkansas says we got to go through them. Let's go through them.
We'll see what they can do starting on on Friday night, I should say. How many more coaches shows? 1, 2 left on Mondays?
We got one more,
Yep.
And then we head to Carolina, and then we're going straight from Carolina to beautiful Hoover, Alabama.
I saw a picture of the field. Herb Vincent sent it out today, so field looks ready to rock, and they'll be playing on it a lot over the course of the next 2 weeks from now over at the SEC tournament. So we'll see you this weekend, Chris. Thanks, man.
You got it. Real quickly, I got a question for you.
Yes.
You like the new format?
I think it's fine as far as the baseball goes. I think it's bad for the fans because you can make the trip over there and you can be done in 3 hours. That's a problem.
That's why I was interested seeing that tweet go out. And, of course, we all love her. But I thought, you got to give something to these fans to get them over there now, because now when they can't rely on going for 3 or 4 days, how many are going to go? It'll be interesting to see what attendance looks like.
It will, but we'll see you at the box this weekend.
You got it.
Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers. Look, I'm okay with single elimination. I'm okay with the double buys for the top 4 seeds. I think all of that is just fine. I'm never one that thinks that the SEC tournament is massive for teams when it comes to how they're playing entering the postseason. Certainly, you can enhance your resume there. But look, we've talked about this a bunch. Mississippi State, I guess that was like 4 years ago now, just got absolutely annihilated in SEC tournament, and they went on to win the national championship. Ole Miss felt like they had to go win a game there to get in the NCAA tournament 3 years ago. They got beat, sat at home all week, and then went and won the national championship. LSU played garbage baseball in 2023 when they went there. Arkansas beat them, and they just didn't play very well at all. Went home and then just were hotter than a pistol when they came back for the regional and the super. It just doesn't matter that much. Now, Tennessee won the tournament last year and then went and won the national championship. So you can play well there and go on and do things that are great. LSU won the tournament. I think it was 2010 they won it. 2010. They went and won it, went out to UCLA and won one game. So it's not, I don't think it's that big a deal. But if you're talking about fans who love that trip, LSU fans have made that trip for decades and love it. And I love that. I love turning that on, whether it's 9 in the morning or 1 in the morning, and seeing a ton of LSU fans at the Hoover Met. But that experience is going to be compromised a little bit when you can't guarantee that your team's going to be there very long. And I know that they had single elimination on Tuesday, which brought that variable in. But if you won on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you were guaranteed double elimination, so you could at least go and see 2 baseball games. Now that part is gone. So that was the doing of the coaches, I'm sure, because they want an opportunity to play for their lives instead of sit back and wait. I know that that's the case because LSU got left out of the NCAA tournament in 2012 because they finished 9th in the SEC. That didn't get them into the top 8 to go play in Hoover in a full double elimination format, and they didn't get in. And so the coach was like, well, we need to let 10 teams in and then play single elimination on the front end so that you can play for your life. And that's why they're doing it, so the coaches have an opportunity to go play. But for the fans, it's not ideal because you can be done really, really quick. So those are my thoughts on the new SEC tournament in baseball. All right, Thursday show is brought to you by Sagrera Farms. We'll come back. We got 30 minutes to go. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. I know a lot of folks don't love going to the dealership. There's a stereotype there for a reason. You get there, you get swarmed by salespeople, and you feel like you're not being told the truth, maybe upsold, trying to up that commission, and it's just not a comfortable deal. And that stereotype exists for a reason. I can promise you this. If you go to Genesis of Baton Rouge, you will not feel like that. You will feel like a guest. Their brand ambassadors will treat you as such. You will be shot straight, and you will be given a great experience in getting behind the wheel of a Genesis, whether it's sedan, an SUV, whether it's the entry level, all the way up to the highest end. Your service is going to be, and your experience is going to be the exact same. It's going to be great. It's an incredible facility they've got there. Service aisle. I've been through a lot of service aisles in my day from the insurance world. A lot of them not real pleasant. This one's as clean as I've ever seen. The lounge area that's right there has got an incredible coffee machine, all the snacks you could want. It's a comfortable place to sit down. And then they got great inventory as well. Get behind the wheel. Check it out. You may not have considered Genesis because they're fairly new to the game. Do so the next time you're in the market for a vehicle. Tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you over there. They're at Airline and Pico across from Women's Hospital, or online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
I do believe it's going to be a grilled chicken night in the Palmer household. That's been predetermined.
Why do you say that?
Because that's all we have left in the fridge.
Okay.
We have to go the grocery run, and when that's all that's left, that's what you're having for dinner.
Yeah.
However, as a point of just out of principle, I prefer beef. And if you're going to go with beef, Sagrera Farms beef is where it is at. If you're going, what is Sagrera Farms? Brand new sponsor here on Thursdays. And this is a gym just outside Baton Rouge. I love talking to Sean Sagrera because he's so passionate about what they're doing at Sagrera Farms. It's a 3-year journey to create the finest beef that you're going to find. It's in the top 1% in the world. It's right outside Baton Rouge. They're working right now at Sagrera Farms on 2029 product. And the beauty of this is it's not like just going down to the local shop that you usually go to grab your beef. That's certainly what most people do. Most people haven't had this type of experience. Go to the farm and check out the incredible beef that Sagrera Farms has. And this is not an assumption. They're not guessing that it's good. It's proven fact by ultrasound that their intramuscular fat scores on these cows are astronomically high. 4% is under 4% is select, 4% to 8% is choice, 9% is prime. That's prime Angus beef. That's the good stuff. You're talking about cows that they've got at Sagrera Farms at 12, 14, 17%. This is the best of the best. And it's right here outside Baton Rouge. If you're thinking, that's what I need to get my hands on, go up to Sagrera Farms and take a look. You can look at the product and decide what you're taking home. They sell half cows. They sell whole cows. You put them in the freezer. We want you to give Sean a call. 719-1723. It's Sean Sagrera, 719-1723. Go up to Sagrera Farms, load your freezer up with the finest beef, ribeyes, fillets, ground beef for burgers, tacos, whatever the case may be. Flank steaks, strips. They got it all at Sagrera Farms, and you can have it. Incredible, incredible stuff. Some of the best beef in the world right outside of Baton Rouge, and it's at Sagrera Farms. Proud Thursday sponsor of the Hunt Palmer Show. This is always a fun thing to get to here. ESPN, specifically Mark Schlabach, put out a story earlier today with the post-spring, way too early top 25. That's where we are. That's where we are on the calendar. And I like to take a peek. You know, it's not the gospel here on the day that they've named a new pope in the Catholic Church. It's just something to chew on and talk about a little bit. And I was first interested of who he had number one. We'll get to LSU in a second, but Penn State, number one for Mark Schlabach. Drew Allar coming back, Katron Allen coming back, Nick Singleton coming back. Got brand new defensive coordinator they took from Ohio State. Jim Knowles is really good. He's got Penn State at number one. LSU, interestingly enough, comes in at number 6 in this ranking. LSU was 6 before the spring as well. You look at the key returners. Of course, you know those names: Garrett Nussmeier, Caden Durham, Aaron Anderson, Whit Weeks, Ashton Stamps, Harold Perkins, Jordan Gilbert. And then you go to the key transfer portal additions, and it takes up like the entire page. It's a massive list because LSU went hard after this transfer portal deal. Patrick Payton, Jack Pyburn, Nick Anderson, Barian Brown, Braylon Moore, Josh Thompson, Mansour Delane, AJ Halsey, Bernard Gooden, Tamarcus Cooley. You got it. I mean, they got a lot of guys in the transfer portal. But Schlabach's outlook says there's no reason the Tigers shouldn't be in the thick of the SEC title race and college football playoff race. Brian Kelly added 18 players from the transfer portal, including several plug-and-play starters. The latest addition, Halsey, was an all-Big 12 performer in 2024. The Tigers were already returning the SEC's most productive quarterback in Nussmeier and a deep receiver core that only improved with Barian Brown and Nick Anderson. Braylon Moore and Josh Thompson should shore up an offensive line that lost 4 starters. Halsey joins a secondary that already added Delane and Cooley. Peyton and Pyburn, big-time additions on the edge, and Gooden filled a much-needed role on the interior of the defensive line. The Tigers are going to score a ton of points in 2025. They got to stop somebody far better than they did last year when they ranked 14th in the SEC in scoring defense. And I think you're going to look at this ranking of LSU, and LSU's, generally speaking, going to come in between 4 and 8 by just about everybody. It's not as easy to do these preseason rankings as it once was, when you could really look at what teams had coming back and the only way to fill holes was with freshmen and sophomores. That was a pretty easy way to say, well, you got a lot coming back, or you couldn't add juniors and seniors 10 years ago. Now you can, and LSU did it by the truckload. But what LSU would have been given credit for 8 years ago and are certainly being given credit for now is the fact that Garrett Nussmeier is taking the snaps for LSU. And I think that LSU is going to be a trendy pick in SEC Media Days in July. And I think LSU is going to be a hot team that people are talking about in August when we kick this thing off at Labor Day. I think that's a fair ranking for LSU at 6. I know that a lot of people, when they listen to me, think that I am a pessimist when it comes to football, think that I'm a nega-tiger. I was called Baton Rouge's Eeyore at one point, which became my fantasy football team because I really appreciated that moniker. But I just tell you what I think. And I thought that LSU was going to lose to Florida State to open the season 2 years ago. I thought they would beat USC last year, but I did think there were some issues on the defense. And when I watched that team in spring and then certainly in fall camp, I was like, I just don't know if there's enough proven dudes on this defense. And I do look at LSU's defense right now, and I think there are enough proven dudes. It's not going to look like 2011. It's not going to look like 2019. Certainly not going to look like 2003 or any of those juggernauts. But I think there are enough really solid players with a good coaching staff to be a better defense. And as Schlabach writes here in this story, 14th in the SEC in scoring defense at 24 points per game. Got to be better than that. Now, the other piece to this that I'm always going to look at in these preseason deals, whether it's Schlabach on ESPN or a Yahoo piece or the Phil Steele magazine when it comes out or Athlon Sports or whoever's putting out a preseason prognostication, I'm going to go to LSU first, obviously. But the second place I'm always going to go is Clemson because that's where you start. And Mark Schlabach thinks a lot of Clemson. They're number 2 in his preseason rankings. Klubnik at quarterback, and then a bunch of guys that you've probably never heard of as LSU fans, but you're looking at 8 guys he's got listed as key returning players. And interestingly enough, finally, on the key portal additions part of this, Clemson does have 3 names here. Will Helt, who I really thought LSU should make a run at defensive end right when the portal opened because I thought they needed to add depth on the ends, especially after Womack left. Helt from Purdue ended up at Clemson. And then you got Jeremiah Alexander, who transfers over at linebacker from Alabama, and then Tristan Smith, who's a wide receiver from Southeast Missouri State. But Schlabach writes about Clemson, much like Penn State, Clemson's offense is stacked and has a talented quarterback, deep receiving core, and experienced offensive line. The Tigers don't have a 2-player attack at tailback that remains their biggest concern after practice. Last year's leading rusher, Phil Maffa, departed for the NFL, and top backup Jay Haynes tore an ACL in the ACC championship game. They've got great wide receiver in Adam Randall. Freshman David, no chance I can say that right, Eziomi? I can't say that. No chance I can say that. Apparently, he's a good freshman, and Gideon Davis might get significant carries at running back. Davidson was the number 3 running back in the class, according to ESPN. Clemson coach Dabo Swinney also made a big move to shore up his defense, which ranked next to last in the ACC in stopping the run in 2024, luring defensive coordinator Tom Allen away from Penn State. Helt, who we talked about at the top from Purdue, 5 sacks last year, very important player on the best defensive line in the FBS. One thing that stands out there is that Clemson really struggled to stop the run last year. Well, LSU really struggled to run the ball last year. So that's kind of the movable object against the stoppable force, right? Something's got to give there. Hopefully, it's LSU's running game in that first game. But according to Schlabach, that's number 6 versus number 2 in the opener for LSU and Clemson. That's a pretty big deal. I know that Ohio State and Texas are going to draw a ton of eyeballs. And in Schlabach's initial ranking, he's got Texas number 3 and Ohio State number 5. So that's 8 total. LSU and Clemson 2 and 6. 8 total. Those are the biggest shows in town on Labor Day weekend, and should be quite a spectacle. Hopefully LSU can go out there and play better than they have in the last 5 openers. That's the hope, at least. That's your way too early top 25, according to Mark Schlabach. Step aside, come back and close it out. Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. You don't have to make this renovation a massive project. Like you can. David Duvall and his team can put in brand new vanities with all your drawers, all your shelves, mirrors, lights, the whole deal. They can do that in your bathroom. They can put in a tub with that and do a shower renovation. They can do the whole meal deal. I promise. But it doesn't have to be that. When I say that, you're probably thinking dollar signs. You're probably thinking time, invasiveness. Can I stay in my house? Like, I get that. You don't have to do that. What about a tub to shower conversion? That's quick. It's cost effective, and it can totally change the functionality and look of your bathroom. You spend a lot of time in there. Make it look good. Make it look functional. Make it be functional. You can take one of those big 90s style jacuzzi tubs that you never use out and put a glass walk-in shower in that space that better uses it. It's more functional. David Duvall and his team are happy to do that for you. Start that process with a free consultation. That doesn't cost you anything. To go to OneBathAndClosets.com and start that process with David Duvall. They've got financing options available. They're going to do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. It's David Duvall and One Bath and Closets. You can find them online at OneBathAndClosets.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge Spring Cha-Ching, powered by Citizens Bank and Trust, is back. Register today at 1045ESPN.com for your chance to win $5,000 in cash. It's Spring Cha-Ching from Citizens Bank and Trust and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, let's wrap things up here on this Thursday. We're brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Beef. Again, if you've heard me talking about it on the show and you're thinking, I'd really like to get involved, get some of that beef in the freezer at home. Sean Sagrera, 719-1723. Again, 719-1723. It's Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. Big show tomorrow. I'm going to preview LSU in Arkansas. I hope to have Andrew Hutchison on from Best in Northwest Arkansas Sports. Always enjoy our conversations talking Hogs and Tigers with Andrew. I'll certainly give you my thoughts on LSU and Arkansas tomorrow, and talk some football with Preston Guy as well. So loads to do tomorrow, getting ready for just such a monster series at the box. If you're thinking about LSU as far as the top 8 seed goes, I gave you my thoughts on it at the top of the show today. We only have one order of business left on this Thursday, and that's take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Just take it.
All right, first one here. The Cubs are going to win the World Series. Take it or leave it.
We have to take that.
I'll take it.
We got Kyle Tucker and God.
That's what
we
I'm
got
saying.
The Pope.
Yes.
So, the Pope, if you missed this, there's a new Pope. He's from Chicago. He likes the Cubs. This essentially is a death sentence for the rest of Major League Baseball.
Yep.
Because now we've got divine intervention on our hands, and there's really nothing you can do about that. So it's been a while. It's the first American Pope ever, I believe.
It is.
So clearly going to be a Cubs fan. He overcame an upbringing on the south side of Chicago where the White Sox were right there for him to fall there. But as you would expect from someone in that position, he clearly chose good over evil, as you would imagine. And this is great news for the Cubs. I don't see a way. If you're a gambling person, I would wager everything you got on the Cubs against the Mets tonight, because we now have the entire Catholic Church just hammering away at the rest of the league.
The odds are probably not even, if you want to go bet on the Cubs to win the World Series, the odds are probably decent for that right now, so go ahead and do that.
Can he heal Justin Steele's elbow?
That is, I wonder if maybe we can get some prayers from him. Maybe for Justin Steele.
They got
maybe
holy
Shota
water,
as well.
some sort of something that's going on. We got, Shota's hamstring. We got to get that taken care of.
Assad as well. Still
Assad's got the oblique.
oblique.
We got some medical work that needs to be done.
We do.
From divine intervention from the Pope. So as soon as he's done with whatever's going on in Vatican City, I'm sure they got something going on currently. I'm not up to date on all the the things that go on after you're named Pope, but get him to the north side. Actually, we're in New York right now as well, so we got to get him stateside. We got some work to do.
Yeah, and funnily enough, too, he's a Cubs fan. Also, of course, should be a staunch opposition of the Cardinals, which is
that is correct. He's no longer a Cardinal. What a transformation! That's probably the biggest story here. He's no longer a Cardinal.
It is
now the Pope, and truly can show his Cubs' true colors.
All right, next one here, Hunt. I know you haven't probably been watching a lot of the NBA playoffs, but the Knicks.
I saw
beat
what
the
happened.
Celtics again last night, 91-90. They got a 2-game lead over the Celtics, who a lot of people pegged or thought that they would be making a run to the finals again. But the Knicks making it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
You got to get basically one at the Garden. That's very doable. I will watch some of that because I need Madison Square Garden believing the Knicks can win the whole thing.
Yes,
that hasn't happened since my childhood. So that's a scene that the NBA needs badly. I'm in for it. Also involved in that series, Paul Pierce said after game 1 that he would walk to work in his bare feet and robe, which is like 14 miles. He videoed himself, and I use air quotes, walking to work. There may have been a car involved, I'm thinking, at some point here or there. But he definitely did go out there in a robe and bare feet and walk around a little bit. So tough go for Paul Pierce this morning.
All right, last one here. The SEC's Black Friday matchups are set.
Yeah.
The Egg Bowl will be played at 11 a.m. Texas and Texas A&M will play at 6:30. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it.
Leave it alone.
That stinks.
I will watch them, and I'm excited to watch both of them. I need the Egg Bowl on Thursday night. I do not care about the Jets and Panthers or whoever they're putting on my TV on Thursday night. I'm not watching the Steelers play the Seahawks. I need to eat my chocolate pie, have my leftover turkey sandwich, and watch the Egg Bowl on Thanksgiving.
And this has been taken away from me by the money-hungry, power-hungry NFL. It has to be stopped. There are some things you cannot infringe on. You want to go play in Germany? I'll live with it. You want to go do the draft somewhere in wherever they're doing it, the National Mall, whatever. You want to play on Thursdays? I'll give you that. Not this Thursday. Thanksgiving is for the Egg Bowl.
It is. I agree.
Now they got them parked on Friday morning.
11 a.m.
Oh, well. Think Coach Levy's going to win any games this year?
Maybe a few.
Got to win more than 2, which is what he won last year. We'll see. All right, that's it for a Thursday show brought to you by Sagrera Farms. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Have a great and safe Thursday evening. I think Musso is going to drive you home. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place on Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.